station has been around as part of the York community in some way or another since I believe it was the 1960s. The Nebraska Rural Radio Association purchased this group of stations from MWB Broadcasting in 2015. And so the Nebraska Rural Radio Association actually started in the 1950s. And what it was is it started with KRV and AM 880. And we were actually started as a farmer and rancher co-op. There was a big snowstorm in the 1950s. And several of the farm groups got together. I think there's 5 farm groups that all got together and said, hey, we need a media company that is designed for rural and agricultural Nebraska. My name is Anthony Jacobson. I'm the station manager for 104.9 Max Country and KOOL Radio, which is at 1370, 103.5 FM, and then 95.9 in Seward County. I've been with the Rural Radio Association since 2015 and graduated high school from Milford, so a Seward County alum, and have been in this role with radio stations. Like I said, I started as station manager last September, so coming up on a full year here, and just love being a part of the station. I started with a different company when I first got into radio, but the way it worked into that is the Nebraska Rural Radio Association, as I mentioned, we're a co-op. And so because we are a co-op, because we are farmer and rancher owned, we put, instead of sending our money to big corporate investors, it goes back into the organization to help produce more content. We have farm broadcasters in all of our markets across the state. We have sports directors in all of our markets across the state. And so we put back into our organization so we can continue to make new and fresh content instead of going to websites and just pulling top 10 lists or whatever. And so the fact that we actually create content is really important for me, being a radio person, and so that's how I ended up with this organization, and as a salesperson to start, and then grew into the management situation.
My name is Gene Curtis. I am the operations manager here at the York Nebraska Rural Radio Association. I'm also the morning man on 104.9 Max Country. I'm originally from Ravenna, Nebraska, but I have lived in York for a little over 5 years now. I have worked for the Nebraska Rural Radio Association for about 9 years now. Next month will be my 9-year anniversary. I started out with our Lexington stations, and I moved to York a little over 5 years ago. I have been in the radio industry for approximately 34 years now. I actually started when I was 18, and it's all I've ever done.
I'm Douglas Scott Becker. I am program director, music director for KAWL, which is also known as KOOL Radio. 1370 on the AM dial, 103.5 and 95.5 on the FM dial. I've been in the radio industry since I graduated from UNL in 1978, and I've worked for this company for 7 years. I was in the broadcast school at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, took their program. I graduated with a master in business administration and a minor in broadcast journalism. And I enjoyed going into broadcasting. And since 1978, that's what I've been doing.
I'm Joe Marshall from Malcolm, Nebraska, just down the road. Graduated in 2010, then went to Concordia, played football there, and graduated in 2014. And I didn't really know what I wanted to go into right away, business administration major, and I just got into sales. So I've worked for Nebraska Rural Radio as my first radio job. Not my first sales job, but I've been in radio sales for a little over 2 years. Just going into business, any kind of business major, you kind of get knowledge of how things work, and then on the sales side it was just kind of what I fell into, and that's what I did at my previous job right out of college, and so it was just a good fit for me.
My name is Parker Siza. I'm the sports director here at Max Country and KOOL Radio. Originally from Alliance, Nebraska, so from the Panhandle, coming out here toward central eastern Nebraska, and run sports here. Develop the schedules, head to games, do all the ball games, and talk to athletes and coaches from around the area, high school and lower level college, and so a lot of fun. I have been here for 2 years in August. In radio as a whole, probably about 7 years. I started at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I majored in sports broadcasting and journalism. First, I was actually in the newspaper industry, and then I was like, I kind of like radio a little bit more. It was more fun, more interactive with people, and so I kind of geared toward that, and sports has always been just a passion of mine, and so I continue to follow it. For my field and what I do with sports broadcasting, what's important is that you are the eyes for people, and so describing things really well, describing a play really well, describing who was involved in the play. So I think that's A1, just kind of being everybody's eyes for them when you're on the radio. And also, yeah, everybody has to have people skills. That's very important in a job. I think it's very important in radio because, well, you're talking to people. And so, yeah, I would say those are probably the two big things.
I would say public speaking for sure. But these days, computer skills too, because everything that we do has something to do with computers, and the more you know, the better your job choices are going to be. But public speaking definitely is one that I would put up there. So.
You got to have a voice, and you need to be somewhat entertaining. You have to be somewhat funny. It depends on the job that you do. For the radio station. Like I and another gentleman, we host the morning show, the Bright Side of the Road show, from 6 to 10. And it's a show that we play 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. We also throw in a few human interest stories and have a little bit of fun during the morning hours, trying to get people up on the bright side of the road.
My day-to-day activities start off about 5:30 in the morning. Since I am the morning man on Max Country, that's when I get in here. My air shift is from 6 to 10. I do a morning show with a couple of other people that actually aren't in the building with me. They are at our Lincoln Innovation Campus studios, and so we can see each other. We Skype into each other, but we use a piece of equipment called a Comrex, which a Comrex is really a radio station in a box. It's about this big. And with it, as long as you have an internet connection, you can broadcast anywhere. And so they Comrex in, and we use the Skype. And we don't hide the fact that they are in Lincoln, but if we didn't tell people they were in Lincoln, no one would ever know. They would think we're all in the room together. So we do a 4-hour morning show until 10. And then since I am the operations manager, Anthony and I usually have a few meetings every day, and we have to meet with promotions and we have to meet with sales. And then I'm also in charge of the music for Max Country, and so I have to spend a couple hours scheduling the music for the next day. And if there is time, I cut a few commercials, do some sports, whatever is left at the end of the day.
Day-to-day activities are mainly just going out and either seeing existing clients or going to new clients and prospecting them and trying to earn business and just servicing current customers, whether that be writing new commercials or say if we have something new like our summer giveaway. We just have different promotions throughout the year. We cover a lot of sports here. I mean, it's all across the board with stuff like that.
The incentives and benefits to the job are, it's not hard. I mean, I always joke, there ain't no calluses on these hands, but I work a lot of long hours too. Friday I put in a 15-hour day. Saturday I put in a 12-hour day. You have to be willing to work a lot, but the payback is it's fun. I mean, we're not digging ditches here. We're having a good time and we try and entertain. And sometimes entertaining is very hard work, not physically, but mentally. I will go home at the end of the day and just be exhausted, and I didn't do any hard labor all day long. It's just, it's sometimes a grind, but it's fun. It's always interesting, and it's different every day.
Flexibility, that's That I will say is one thing that's really nice about this job compared to my last. I was in an office from 8 to 5 on my last job. This one, I mean, I can come and go. I can work from home when I need to. I can go out and see customers. If my kid is sick, I can just go and pick her up. There's nothing specific unless we have, like I have a meeting set up with a client or something like that, but that can all be, you know, it can be rescheduled if it needs to be. But that is one of the nicest things about is being flexible, and your day-to-day is different every single week, which can be nice because some people kind of get into a routine and they just do the exact same thing every week in and week out, and this is nice. You get a little bit of a change up.
Well, that's a tough question for any high school senior, what he or she wants to do. And I would say follow your dreams and make sure that this is what you want to do. And if you enjoy what you're doing, get into the broadcast school. It's a great school to be in at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and then they set you up with everything you need as far as running the board, the operation board, various aspects of news and sports and commercial writing, and then they'll even help you find a job. So I highly recommend the broadcast school at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. We do offer internships through the organization that owns us here, and a lot of folks have come and spent time shadowing and seen if they actually like it. All different departments in the radio station, whether it's on air, sales, things like that. So
Call the station and say, how can I be a part of it? Really, it's that simple to start with. If you want to be a sports broadcaster, if you want to be somebody that is more on the on-air side, get started. I don't care if you're working for your Strive. I don't care if you're working, if you call your on-air station and say, hey, where can I work part-time? Come in and run the boards. We're always looking for people who want to do board ops. If you want to do stuff, like I said, for your local Strive where you're running the camera at the sporting events, just be a part, be active in what you're doing, and get started at it. And then once you get your feet wet and get going with some of that, then you know what? Look at what degrees there are to major in your school, whether it's broadcasting, whether it's marketing, if you want to be on the sales side of it, you know, some general communications, and learn about other businesses. So, but the trick is get started as fast as you can. Call somebody and say, how can I be a part of it? If they have somebody that's ready, willing, and wants to be a part of the industry, we'll find a way to get you started.